Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Welcome to News Talk with yours truly, Chris Anu, coming to you as usual from the great state of Texas, Houston, Texas, to be precise. Thank you for tuning in tonight. I come to you with some very, very exciting revelations coming from the Cameroon soldiers in the front lines in Ambazonia. The Cameroonian soldiers are beginning to realize this is no more about a war of national unity or for national unity. It is an uncalled for war, and they are crying for dialogue, peace. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear like peace may come to Cameroon anytime soon. You guys, I'm sure you watch the Archbishop in Yaoundé trying to let the dove go and invoke peace. The dove refused to go. We'll also be talking about the resurgence of Ambazonia restoration fighters all over the place, and even to the extent of reinforcing ghost towns in Ambazonia. What does that mean, and what should Ambazonians both at home and in the diaspora be doing? We will also talk tonight about the collapse, as we learn, of Paul Biya on May 20th. That was last month. What does that mean? Who is ruling Cameroon? The question remains. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the subject I'm bringing. Those are the issues I'm bringing to you today. And of course, I will be opening the phone lines to take your phone call. So please stay put. I will be right back.
Have you noticed? The world is changing faster than ever before.
Artificial intelligence is transforming workplaces, creating new opportunities, and reshaping entire industries.
The question is no longer whether AI will impact your career. The question is, will you be ready? At Certified AI Academy, we're helping ordinary people gain extraordinary skills in just 8 weeks.
Unlike many programs that leave you alone with recorded videos, our classes are taught live by experienced instructors.
You will learn practical AI skills you can immediately apply at work, in business, or to launch a new career.
And we don't stop at training. We help with resume development, job search support, and connecting graduates with opportunities.
Many AI jobs today can be performed remotely from anywhere in the world.
Our next session begins July 24th. Seating is limited.
To enroll, text AI to 346-271-0711 or visit certifiedaiacademy.com.
All right, thank you once more for joining me, ladies and gentlemen. Please, if you are joining by way of YouTube, go ahead and hit that bell and hit the subscribe button so that every time that we are live, you are one of the first to receive notification. Thank you once more for tuning in. I want to welcome all of you tuning in from the USA, continental USA, including Canada. Of course, the far and the near east, all of continental Africa, including where we call the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, and our neighbors east of the Mongo in La République du Cameroon. Thank you for joining me. I am so excited coming to you tonight with this piece of updates from Cameroon and Ambazonia. Okay, so I will be joined tonight by my panel to discuss the subjects I have mentioned here. That is, number one, the Cameroon Army petitioning Paul Biya and their Minister of Defense to call off the war. Stop the war, they say. We are also looking at the resurgence of Ambazonia restoration fighters getting Cameroonians and the regime in Yaoundé very worried as to the future of this war, because all along they thought the military will end it. So far, it is not working. We will also discuss the collapse of Paul Biya, or call it the fainting of Paul Biya on the May 20th in Yaoundé after 20th May festivities. at the private dinner held at the presidency in Yaoundé. And then, of course, I will take your phone calls. So please stay put. When I come back, I will take you into my talking points. Don't touch your remote.
Have you noticed? The world is changing faster than ever before.
Artificial intelligence is transforming workplaces, creating new opportunities, and reshaping entire industries.
The question is no longer whether AI will impact your career. The question is, will you be ready? At Certified AI Academy, we're helping ordinary people gain extraordinary skills in just 8 weeks.
Unlike many programs that leave you alone with recorded videos, our classes are taught live by experienced instructors.
You will learn practical AI skills you can immediately apply at work, in business, or to launch a new career.
And we don't stop at training. We help with resume development, job search support, and connecting graduates with opportunities.
Many AI jobs today can be performed remotely from anywhere in the world.
Our next session begins July 24th. Seating is limited.
To enroll, text AI to 346-271-0711 or visit certifiedaiacademy.com.
Have you noticed? The world is changing faster than ever before.
Artificial intelligence is transforming workplaces, creating new opportunities, and reshaping entire industries.
The question is no longer whether AI will impact your career. The question is, will you be ready? At Certified AI Academy, we're helping ordinary people gain extraordinary skills in just 8 weeks.
Unlike many programs that leave you alone with recorded videos, our classes are taught live by experienced instructors.
You will learn practical AI skills you can immediately apply at work, in business, or to launch a new career.
And we don't stop at training. We help with resume development, job search support, and connecting graduates with opportunities.
Many AI jobs today can be performed remotely from anywhere in the world.
Our next session begins July 24th. Seating is limited.
To enroll, text AI to 346-271-0711 or visit certifiedaiacademy.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for staying put. At this moment, I take you into my monologue for the day that has to do with the appeal by the Cameroon army. The appeal by a Cameroonian army asking Paul Biya to end the war, as you can see in the headline in front of you. That is the latest from Yaoundé. A deeply emotional open letter allegedly written by an anonymous Cameroonian soldier deployed in the conflict-ridden Southern Cameroons, Ambazonia, has reignited debate about the future of the war between Cameroon, La République du Cameroon, and the Southern Cameroonian Ambazonian fighters. The letter, published by a popular Francophone blogger, is addressed directly to President Paul Biya and his minister delegate at the presidency in charge of defense. The letter paints a grim picture of life on the front lines, describing a Cameroon military force that is battered by fear, battered by exhaustion, psychological trauma, and growing doubts about the possibility of a military victory. The soldier begins his letter by describing the realities of a conflict that has stretched on for nearly a decade, claiming that what was once viewed as a mission to defend national unity has evolved into an endless nightmare, and I quote him, "It is with a deep respect to your offices, yet with a throat choked by terror and tears, that I write to you from the bushlands of the northwest and southwest regions," end of quote. The author speaks of a daily existence in the trenches dominated by fear. According to him, Improvised explosive devices, IEDs, have become one of the greatest threats faced by government forces in Ambazonia. We walk each day, he said, with fear gnawing at our insides, constantly on the lookout for improvised explosive devices that have already torn away the limbs and the lives of so many of our comrades, he wrote. The soldier further describes what he calls the invisible wounds of war. They include sleepless nights, hunger, harsh living conditions, and the constant specter of death, which have taken a severe toll on morale. And he wrote, "We are exhausted physically and mentally," end of quote. But perhaps the most striking aspect of the letter is its acknowledgement of the human cost of the conflict on all sides. He wrote, "Behind every assault, there are Cameroonian families in mourning. Whether in uniform or civilian clothes, it is our brothers, our sisters, and our children who are falling," end of quote. The soldier argues that after years of fighting, the reality on the ground has become impossible to ignore. This war will not be won by force of arms, he wrote. In one of the most powerful passages, he warns that every village destroyed and every life lost has only deepened divisions and prolonged the suffering. "We are not fighting an invading army from abroad," he wrote. "We are tearing one another apart, children of the very same nation," end of quote. The letter culminates in a direct appeal to the country's leadership. "The true courage of a leader is measured," he wrote, "not by his capacity to prolong a war, but by his strength to command peace," calling for an immediate ceasefire in what he terms sincere, inclusive, and definitive dialogue. The anonymous soldier insists that the solution to the conflict lies not in military operations, but in political engagement. The solution, he said, is political, it is human, it lies not in words, not in bullets. The letter ends with a plea on behalf of soldiers, widows, orphans, and civilians caught in the conflict, urging the Cameroonian regime to restore peace and allow those fighting on the front lines to return home alive. If the letter is authentic, it may be one of the most significant political documents to emerge from the conflict in recent years, because it comes from a man carrying a gun, a rifle for the state. For years, Yaoundé has maintained that military pressure would eventually crush resistance in the former British Southern Cameroons. Yet, here is a soldier on the battlefield declaring precisely the opposite. This war, he says, will not be won by force of arms. That statement strikes at the heart of the state's strategy. The significance of the letter is not merely the suffering it describes. Wars always produce suffering. What makes it remarkable is that the suffering has now been transformed into a political conclusion. The soldier is not merely complaining about their conditions in the bushes. He is questioning the very premise upon which the war has been fought. And that should concern policymakers in Yaoundé. That is if they care. History demonstrates that the regime in Yaoundé rarely changes course because ordinary citizens demand it. It may change only when institutions within the state begin expressing doubt about the viability of existing policies. The tragedy, however, is that the Biya regime has rarely been known for responding to popular sentiment. Time and again, decisions have appeared driven not by public expectations, but by the interests of those who hold power and seek to preserve it. The question therefore becomes, will this anonymous soldier be heard, or will his warning be dismissed as weakness, as defeatism, or disloyalty? The latter also unintentionally highlights another reality, one that supporters of Ambazonia have long argued. After years of combat, one of Africa's largest armies has still been unable to extinguish the resistance. The persistence, ladies and gentlemen, of the conflict speaks not only to the endurance of the population, but also to the resilience, bravery, and determination of Ambazonian fighters who continue to operate despite overwhelming disadvantages in manpower, in resources, and in logistics. Whether one agrees with their political objectives or not, their ability to sustain resistance for nearly a decade has fundamentally altered the calculations surrounding the conflict. That is why, if anything, the soldiers' call for dialogue deserves attention. Yet, dialogue cannot simply be declared into existence by presidential decree. A ceasefire is necessary. A ceasefire is desirable. But ceasefire alone is not peace. Ambazonian fighters in the field will not be laying down their arms merely because Yaoundé orders them to do so. Their position has consistently been that negotiations must precede any permanent cessation of hostilities, and that representatives of the conflict must be present at the table. The anonymous soldiers in La République du Cameroon appears to have reached the same conclusion. The solution, he wrote, is political. It is human. It lies in words, not in bullets. That may well be the most important sentence in the entire letter. Because after years of offensives, of raids, troop deployments, and military statements, the conflict remains unresolved. That is a fact. And when soldiers themselves begin questioning the possibility of victory, it becomes increasingly difficult to argue that more of the same thing will produce a different outcome. The latter may not change policy today or tomorrow. It may be ignored entirely. It may even disappear into official silence. But it leaves behind a question that neither side can avoid. If the men fighting the war no longer believe it can be won militarily, how much longer can anyone else pretend otherwise? Ladies and gentlemen, that is this talking point. I will come back to the second and maybe the third one, but let's stop here first and consult with my panel. I am being joined from somewhere very close to ground zero by the publisher of Scandi Media, Shevism. Good to have you, sir. It appears like your microphone is turned off. It's muted. Turn it back on. Let's see. Your microphone is not turned on. Your microphone, check your microphone and then spin your camera around. and turn on your microphone. I don't see your microphone. Okay, I think it's turned on now, but spin your camera around, please. I'm also being joined, ladies and gentlemen, by Mike Fusi. Mike Fusi joining me from the state of Delaware. But I want to start with Chauvism joining me very close to ground zero, who knows very much about what is happening there on the ground. But let us do a little bit on this subject of the Cameroonian army asking La République to end the war. End the war. Now, you live in a location where you probably have a lot of information concerning the Cameroonian army out there. Tell me, Chauvism, the sentiments you are hearing out there from the Cameroonian army for as long as this war is concerned. Do you hear them sharing the sentiments of this anonymous petition writer to Paul Biya that they should end the war?
Thank you, Comrade Chris, for having me. Thank you, televiewers of ABS TV. Glad to be here. And you asked a very pertinent question. And one thing that you didn't also mention, which I'm not sure if you're aware, is not only the fact that there was this letter that has been circulating and making rounds on social media and everyone talking about it. It's also the fact that there is tension also in Yaoundé by the military, because most of their bonuses have not been paid.
Right.
And yeah, and this tension is mounting in a way that even some generals are beginning to take sides, and it's coming at the point where there is also confusion in the government. And you saw recently how the Biya regime did reshuffle some of the military positions. And when you see this, you see that there is a lot of agitation coming from many ends. So they have been doing everything possible to make sure that they hide this. But one of the reasons that these bonuses have not been paid due to the fact that Cameroon is actually broke.
Cameroon
now,
is
that is
actually
why broke.
Broke, okay.
Yeah, that's poor, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and that is why when I link this to the other monologue which you shared concerning the issue of sending, tax collectors from FACOM during your last presentation to collect money, taxes from the local government. We see this as from the local governments. We see this as a link because if the local governments start collecting money, the Cameroon government will not be able to prosecute this war. So one of the reasons is to get funds in order to fight, to prosecute the war, and to be able to also pay the military and even some of the civil servants. It may interest you that there is also a rising in other sectors where civil servants are not being paid. Now, why is Cameroon having these challenges? Some of them is simply because first of all, the money which they borrowed, there is also pressure from the World Bank for them to start paying their debts and other countries where money is being borrowed. And you will notice that most of the money that was, I don't know why I'm sweating, maybe because of the military jacket, that's fine. Some of the money that the IMF borrowed Cameroon for development has been used to fight the war, which you rightly stated that for 10 years we have been able to resist a military with all the resources, with all the manpower. Imagine we had only 1/10 of what they had. Cameroon military would have been crippled by now. So actually, what is happening is also, which I'm going to come to that, is that part of the money that has made Cameroon broke is one of the reasons is the fact that they use this money to pay lobby firms in order to deceive the international community that nothing is happening. We'll come to that to throw more light on this. And that is why this letter that you just asked, that has been circulating on social media, has brought many to who are having a what we call wishful thinking, to hope that it will reach the right source or headquarters so that something should be done. You will notice that one of the reasons that push this letter to be written, if at all it is genuine and written from a soldier, like you said, many are of the opinion in Ground Zero, are of the opinion that many soldiers are being killed on daily basis.
Yeah.
La Republique does not even report about it. The families of the poor keep losing their loved ones. It is even impossible to account for the number of soldiers that have been killed in Ambazonia, talk less of the war in the north, which is the Boko Haram as well. And you never see anything being done about it. The families are not being taken care of. That is why those who have tasted this war, who have been to the war zones, are against the fact that this senseless war continues. So this letter has been interpreted by so many in different dimensions. You will notice that there is one of their blogger, Zumanto, if I can get the name well. He's been taking statistics of the number of military killed. And recently it was realized that he may probably have just maybe half of those numbers, because sometimes when we have the statistics, we do not even see him update the ones that we have in Ambazonia. This is to tell you how many military men have been killed in Ambazonia in this senseless war, which I agree with you that a ceasefire is really necessary, and we need to go to the dialogue table and negotiate, because at the end of the day, we will still negotiate.
Well, I agree with you. A ceasefire is very necessary, but I am one of those who believe there should be no ceasefire until the ceasefire has to start from the table of dialogue, or call it negotiation. Until we get there, there should be no talks about a ceasefire. No Ambazonian fighter is going to drop a gun per a decree or instruction from anybody, not even Chris Anu, not talk less of Yaoundé. That is the way to go.
And if you want me to comment on that, if we say if we need to talk, and there is you see, let's take an example of what's happening between US and Iran. Sometimes there is a ceasefire for 30 days, then talks are going on. And then when they fail, they extend the ceasefire. I think that it is very important that the Cameroon regime that started this war, I think it would defer to what is just, or what I think they should do, is that they should withdraw their military, even if it means keeping them back in the barracks, and then start talking to Ambazonia. No matter how we see it, we always keep saying it. We need to talk. If you want peace, you need to talk to your enemy, not to your friend.
You are very correct, and you quote the example of the U.S. and Iran. You are talking here of two parties that the U.S. can do what they want to get Iran to abide, and Iran can also do what they want to resist it. In the case of Ambazonia, Cameroon, for 10 years, we realized that Cameroon just wants its way. And so to think that let's call for a ceasefire without any formal sit down and think that Cameroon will obey its part of the bargain, I bet you it is not going to happen. Realize this. Anybody who lays down arms for 1 month in the bushes in Ambazonia will never return there. You know that. Because they become comfortable somewhere where their living. We've seen so many of them move onto ground one and told you and us they were going back. We just want to go reinforce and go back. And before you know, you hear that they bought a building in. They bought a building on ground one. They set up shop in ground one. They're never returning there. So we cannot make that mistake, because laying down, calling for a ceasefire only for 1 month, and those guys maybe walking away to somewhere will not return to that suffering, because it is pure suffering. When Field Marshal was there, sleeping in the bush, I pitied them, and I understood from what I saw how those other boys, these other fighters, they suffer in these bushes. They used to tie strings from tree to tree, cross it all over, put an inflated mattress on it and sleep on it, and woe betide them that day, and it rains. It messes up everything. And I saw that, and I was asking myself, for how long are they going to do this? So we cannot make the mistake of saying, let us call for a ceasefire for 1 month and blah, 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 blah. No, let's start on the dialogue table, have the terms, draw some terms, come up with some terms, some guidelines, and then we'll know what we can decree from there. Go on and finish your point.
Yeah, just to, I hope that people are not going to misinterpret what I said about ceasefire. I didn't say Ambazonia calling for ceasefire. I talked about the aggressor, who is the La République. If they really want to talk to us, they really have to show good faith first by withdrawing their military from either our territory or back to the barrack, and then talks can start. I don't know if you said we are still going to come to talk about the resurgence. Let me give room for Comrade Mike to come in, or for you are the anchor man here. Let me not seize your job from you, I know, so.
Sure, let me get to Mike. Please centralize your camera, Mike, in the image. Okay, let's see if we can manage that. All right, we are being joined. I think your microphone is not turned on also. Turn on your microphone, please. Again, we are...
can you hear me?
Yes, it's on now. I can hear you. All right. Mike Fusi, you listened to my monologue and the information talking about the anonymous letter from the Cameroonian army making the appeal to Paul Biya and the Minister of Defense, asking them to end the war. And in that letter, he says, there is no way there is going to be a military solution to the conflict. He said they live daily in fear of IEDs, fear of hunger, fear of the bushes. Is he saying anything new that we have not said previously?
Yeah, Comrade Chris, I think I could have told him this 8 years ago, that this thing would only have to end at the table. Or otherwise, they just pack their bags and leave, because that's where Ambazonia is heading. We're getting to a point where we will not even be interested in any negotiations with La République du Cameroon. Yes. If you come, Grace, let's look at the trajectory of this conflict. When we came out, what were we asking? We were simply asking for basic things: roads to be maintained, jobs, for our educational system to be restored, our judicial system to be restored. Those are the basic things we asked for. Then from there, it moved on to what? A request for a return to the federal structure of government that we had when this unholy union with La République du Cameroon was first forced on us. Then they beat people up, they threw people in jail, and then from there it moved on to what? Demand for complete restoration, the complete restoration of the independence of the Southern Cameroons, Ambazonia. and still they are not listening. And at this point, we have been asking for them to come to the table so we can talk. There is another phase that we're going to get to, and that is where we will not even be interested in talking to them. We will simply ask them to pack and leave or else. And we're getting very close. So the fact that their soldiers are beginning to be worried should tell them something, that this thing is no longer sustainable on the part of La Republic. One very critical thing, Comrade Chris, one very critical thing that is wrong with La Republic right now is the leadership vacuum. If you want to understand, because I'll tell you this, when you are going on a journey and you get on a bus and a 93-year-old man gets on and they tell you that's going to be your driver, if you still have the confidence to sit in that bus that person will take you from point A to point B, then you're crazy. Now, if you are, I would say, show me your team coach, and I will tell you whether your team would win or not. Yes. Show me your pilot, and I will tell you whether that plane will arrive its destination or not. Every success is achieved based on who is leading, especially when you're dealing with a group. If you're just an individual, it's based on you alone. But you're dealing with a country, 20-something million people. And let's just take a glance at who is in charge in La Republic of Cameroon. Top on the list is, of course, Paul Biya. Paul Biya right now is simply a vegetable. We don't even know if he's alive. He's a vegetable. We've seen him. He pees on his pants. His wife is always there behind him, reminding him to raise his hands, just to wave. Everywhere. Paul Biya is a confused person. As I felt pity for him when I saw his images on the so-called 20th May. He could not even stand erect. He was standing there like his knees were going to buckle under him. That is supposed to be the person leading La Republic of Cameroon at this time. After Paul Biya, who do you have? You have Mr. Ngongo. Mr. Ngongo is somebody whom we don't know we don't even know his qualifications. We don't know Ngongo's qualifications. And personally, I know that he is good at killing and he's good at stealing. Those are his virtues that I know he brings to the table. And that is one of those key persons. As a matter of fact, he's the one with Paul Biya's signature. Those are the people in charge of La Republic of Cameroon. Third, you have Atanji Paul, Mr. Moulinex, another killer and another thief. I don't know what else he's good at, apart from stealing and killing. Then there's one character around there whom we are told is the one making all the major decisions, and no decision is made now without her input. I'm here referring to Paul Biya's wife, Chantal Biya. This is an individual. I went making a small research about Chantal Biya, and I was told, I learned she was born in the Eastern Province or somewhere around there, and then I tried to find out her academic background, and there is no record of her educational achievement. It is stated clearly that she was raised in a modest background with very little education. So it must be clear to you that this is a lady who probably doesn't even have a secondary school education attainment. She has not gone as far as graduating from high school, what you call here in America high school. So, and this can be understood by the fact that, Comrade Chris, I don't know about you and our viewers, But I don't know if you've ever seen Chantal Biya making a speech. Have you ever seen Chantal Biya addressing an audience anywhere, like any other first lady? And if you haven't, what does that tell you? That means this lady is so stupid that even if you wrote a speech and gave her to read, she would not be able to read. Those are the people making decisions for 20-something million La Republique du Cameroon citizens. Somebody who can not even read a speech. All we know is that she is materialistic, she is clueless, uneducated, lacks any managerial experience. And all she wants is the money, and she's tested power, of course, and she wants it. A close ally of Ngongo. They are the ones in charge of La Republique du Cameroon right now. Now, if, like I said before, if these are the people leading La Republique du Cameroon, what then do you expect in terms of progress, in terms of growth, in terms of development, in terms of the management of the resources, and for these people having the decency and the concern about the plight and the well-being of those they claim to lead? These people are what we call psychopaths. They are psychopaths. Who are psychopaths? These are people who have, they're not able to have empathy for anyone else. The only people, the only concern they have is themselves and their close ones, their close relatives. This is the mentality of a psychopath. They are not able to have any empathy for anybody. That is why a psychopath can go out and kill a bunch of people and not care, because it is impossible for them to feel for somebody else. And those are the people in charge of La Republique du Cameroon right now. So when you see, as you're looking at the pictures on your screen right now, innocent, poor kids who are recruited from amongst their civilian population and sent to go and die, you think these people really care about them? If they care about them, as compared to the US here or other developed countries, when soldiers die, the leader of the country will take time to go and honor them. How many times has Paul Biya or anyone close to him gone out to honor the service of these boys that are slain in Ambazonia? Has any of them shown any concern that they feel for the lives that have been lost and are continuing to be lost in Ambazonia? They don't care. So if these boys don't reason and understand that they are wasting their lives for people who don't even care about them, and that they should drop their weapons, or best still, turn those weapons against those criminals. The real enemies of La Republique du Cameroon are in Yaoundé, at the Turi. Those are the people they should go after, and no one else. They need to turn their guns against them. The Chantal Biya, the Paul Biya's family, and all those thieves around them. They should liberate themselves by chasing them out of there. That is what they should do. And stop dying for a senseless war.
You know the problem with that. Those top military cadets are well paid, and the reason they are well paid and paid consistently is so they can protect and keep the regime. So the big guy up there doesn't feel...
Comrade Chris, most of the times these things don't happen at a high level. It is the ordinary ones. The ordinary ones who bear the brunt of the war that should take action. They should not wait for their hierarchy to do it.
That is very true. We have seen situations where ordinary captains, take over the regime. Now, do you see the Cameroon government reacting to that letter, or maybe doing something, if it means pretending to call for dialogue?
I don't think so. I don't think so. On the contrary, what I would suspect is that they would do everything in their powers to find out the source of that letter. and eliminate that source. That is the way they solve their problems. They don't try to solve the problem by getting to the root cause of the problem. They never do that. They always look for cosmetic measures to just continue to extend and prolong the problem, for hoping that it will go away, just like they've been hoping that the Ambazonian resistance will fade away. But it's not going anywhere. It is not going anywhere. This fight will not end by Ambazonians unilaterally withdrawing or giving up the resistance. It's not going to happen. I don't know how much more we can explain this for them to understand. It's not going to happen.
No, they believe they can't understand because they see it as propaganda. They don't understand. They think we are not resolved enough to continue fighting until. But I think 10 years should send a message for them. You remember when we started this war, it was 2 cubes of sugar. One will be dissolved in 1 week. The other will dissolve the other week. It has gone for 10 years. If they have not learned, I think they should learn now. Ambazonia is not laying down arms, is not giving up until a settlement is reached. Nothing else.
And one thing they must understand, Comrade, is this: look at the fight for the past several months now. How many Ambazonian fighters are they able to kill as compared to the number of La Republique du Cameroon soldiers that have been killed? At the start of this war, we were learning as we went along. Our civil protection volunteers have learned. They've been able to have some experience on how to handle themselves. Even their relationship with the population has greatly improved. And you have seen the casualties on the side of our civil protection volunteers gone down.
Yeah.
And it's only going to improve as we go along. So I'm just saying that La Republique is on the disadvantage here. Because
very much on the disadvantage.
Our boys now have a mastery of the terrain. They know how to deal with the population. They know when to come out, when to retreat. They are using the guerrilla tactics now very effectively, and it's not about to end.
Right. Before we move on to the next subject related to this, Shea Servizum, you have anything else to add?
Not quite. I think what we need to agree is the fact that what Comrade Mike just said is about the improvement we have had in our freedom fighters, and the fact that they have learned to also respect human rights, and that they are working closer again to the population like the war just started. I think it's, even though we're going to repeat this, it's just to let you know that the population is also understanding what's happening, and that we have given all we could to La Republique to come to their senses, and they have proven time without numbers that they are not willing to let us go. All they want is to exploit and recolonize us.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we hope that they are learning the lesson. Please, gentlemen, stay put in there. When I come back, I will take you to the story of Ambazonia fighters' resurgence all over the place and remanding the ground. Please stay put. I will be right back.
Have you noticed? The world is changing faster than ever before.
Artificial intelligence is transforming workplaces, creating new opportunities, and reshaping entire industries.
The question is no longer whether AI will impact your career. The question is, will you be ready? At Certified AI Academy, we're helping ordinary people gain extraordinary skills in just 8 weeks.
Unlike many programs that leave you alone with recorded videos, our classes are taught live by experienced instructors.
You will learn practical AI skills you can immediately apply at work, in business, or to launch a new career.
And we don't stop at training. We help with resume development, job search support, and connecting graduates with opportunities.
Many AI jobs today can be performed remotely from anywhere in the world.
Our next session begins July 24th. Seating is limited.
To enroll, text AI to 346-271-0711 or visit certifiedaiacademy.com.
Have you noticed? The world is changing faster than ever before.
Artificial intelligence is
Yeah, today the 1st of June 2026. Now they harvest this way the Liberty Warriors of Big Babanki and Bafut 7 Qatar don't harvest and today.
Under the leadership of Mezam Unity Warrior. Hey! Asawana! Wana! Asawana! Wana! Asabwam! Bwam! Simini!
Jam them, collect their AK.
Winners squad! Winners squad!
No job for the
Winners squad!
No job for the
Winners squad!
No job for the wicked!
One time all the brothers the way they participate for all this program where they for down here say we na for our land. The fight now for free our people. They know only the kiwi.
For our land.
We no go ever
No, place there.
Our back. Send me the key all our civilians them because we go defend them to the last man standing. All for one. All for one. Sawana. Sabuam. Simini.
Yeah, today the 1st of June 2026. Now they harvest this way the Liberty Warriors of Big Babanki and Bafut 7 Qatar don't harvest and today.
Under the leadership of Mezam Unity Warrior. Hey! Asawana! Asawana! Asabwam! Simini!
Jam them, collect their AK.
Winners squad! Winners squad!
No job for the
Winners squad!
No job for the
Winners squad!
No job for the wicked!
One time all the brothers the way they participate for all this program where they for down here say we na for our land. The fight now for free our people. They know only the kiwi.
For our land.
We no go ever
place there.
our back. Send me the key all our civilians them because we go defend them to the last man standing. All for one. All for one. Sawana. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are looking there at the images emerging from Mezam Babanki, as we are told by the restoration fighters of Ambazonia, talking about the resurgence that I have been referring to here. We have seen this from Boyo to Nkambe to Ngoke Twinjia to Mezam to Meme to Fako. I wouldn't mention Bui because Bui has been in for the past 2 years holding the torch 24/7, and at the moment it appeared like every other force was retreating. But what we are seeing now is a resurgence from almost all the counties, and I know others who are preparing to emerge again, and this is good. This is good. If Cameroon thought that this thing was winding down and getting over and they can just move on with business as usual, no, that is not the case. That is not the case. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me take you into the next monologue on this subject of Ambazonia fighters' resurgence all over the place. Because this is very, very critical, and we got to find out what we should be doing as Ambazonians. For those who thought the war in the Southern Cameroons, Ambazonia, was fading away, the events of recent months have delivered a powerful reminder. This conflict is far from over. Across several counties that had remained relatively quiet for some time,
Ambazonian fighters are once again making their presence felt. Reports from the ground point to renewed operations in Boyo, in Fako, Meme, Mezam, where fighters have reportedly engaged the Cameroonian army or military forces, seized machine guns, inflicted casualties, and forced some soldiers to retreat from their positions. The significance of these developments is not merely military, it is psychological, it is political, and above all, it is strategic. For years, Yaoundé has relied on a familiar narrative that time is on its side, that fatigue will eventually consume the resistance, the Amba army, and that military pressure will ultimately break the will of those fighting for self-determination. Yet, once again, reality appears to be telling a different story. The renewed activities in Boyo, Fako, Meme, and Mezam is occurring in areas where many believed the conflict had entered a period of dormancy. Instead, what we are witnessing is a refortification of local resistance structures and a renewed determination to keep the struggle alive. Even more telling is the renewed enforcement of Monday ghost towns. For some time, ghost towns appear to be losing momentum in certain localities. But recent developments suggest a concerted effort by fighters, Ambazonia restoration fighters, and local structures to restore compliance. Reports from Boya itself, the administrative capital of the Southern Cameroons, Ambazonia, indicate that enforcement activities have become increasingly visible. This is significant because Boya is not some remote village hidden in the mountains. It is the political heart of Ambazonia. When ghost town enforcement returns to Boya, it sends a message that the resistance still retains the ability to project influence into some of the most symbolically important spaces in the territory. Yet, while these recent developments deserve attention, they should not overshadow the counties that have carried much of the burden of the war in recent times. For a long time now, the headlines have been dominated by Bui, Nkambe, and Ngoketunjia. These counties became the daily nightmare of the Cameroonian military. At a time when many observers were writing the obituary of the resistance, of the conflict, of the quest for independence, these fighters refused to allow the struggle to disappear from public consciousness. They kept the conflict relevant. They kept the pressure alive. They forced Yaoundé to continue spending money, spending resources, getting into debt, deploying troops, and explaining why the war remained unresolved nearly a decade after it began. Before them, before Bui, it was the BLM that carried much of the burden in the days of Field Marshal of Ambazonia. When many fronts grew quiet in the earlier years of the conflict, the BLM became the symbol of continued resistance and determination. One can say today that Bui and Ngoketunjia picked up that mantle. Indeed, if today we hear reports of Cameroon soldiers lamenting fear, exhaustion, casualties, hunger, and the absence of a military solution, much of the credit belongs to the sustained pressure exerted by fighters in Ngoketunjia and Bui counties. They refused to disappear. They refused to surrender. And they refused to allow the conflict to become a forgotten chapter. The anonymous Cameroonian soldier who recently wrote to President Paul Biya pleading for peace may have unintentionally revealed something important. When soldiers begin speaking openly about fear, about fatigue, and the impossibility of military victory, it means the pressure is being felt where it matters most, inside the ranks of the Cameroonian army itself. And that is why the current Ambazonia resurgence matters. Wars do not end because governments issue declarations. Wars do not end because officials make speeches. Wars end when the parties involved conclude that continuing the conflict is more costly than seeking a negotiated settlement. For 10 years, 10 solid years, the regime in Yaoundé has shown little indication that it intends to pursue meaningful dialogue on its own initiative. Repeatedly, it has demonstrated a preference for military management of a fundamentally political problem. The result is the situation we see today. A decade later, the conflict remains unresolved. A decade later, soldiers are still dying. A decade later, communities remain displaced. A decade later, ladies and gentlemen, neither side has achieved its objectives. That is why many believe that sustained pressure remains essential, not because war is desirable, not because suffering should continue, but because history suggests that meaningful negotiations rarely emerge from comfort. They emerge when political realities make dialogue unavoidable. If there is one lesson from the past 10 years, it is that Yaoundé has not been moved by a peace alone. It has not been moved by international statements. It has not been moved by humanitarian reports. What has consistently commanded attention is resilience and bravery. What has commanded attention is persistence. What has commanded attention, ladies and gentlemen, is the refusal of the conflict to disappear. The challenge now falls to Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians themselves. The fighters alone cannot carry the burden. Communities on the ground, families, supporters, and the wider diaspora all have a role to play in sustaining morale and ensuring that those on the front lines do not feel abandoned. Because whether one agrees with every tactic or every strategy, one reality remains undeniable. The conflict is not over, and the recent resurgence on multiple fronts is a reminder that the struggle continues and that the question of the Southern Cameroons remain unresolved. For those who thought the war in the Southern Cameroon was fading away, closing down, the events of recent months have delivered a powerful reminder. This conflict is far from over. It is far from over. Across several counties that had remained relatively quiet for some time, Ambazonian fighters are once again making their presence felt. Reports from the ground point to renewed operations in Boyo, Fako, Meme, Mezam, where fighters have reportedly engaged Cameroonian army, seized their weapons, killed some, their machine gun, and inflicted casualties. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. It appeared like I was going over it again, but that is the talking point. Let me get back to Chauvism, who is very conversant to the event that I am describing here. We have seen, comrade, recently the resurgence of fighting action in places like Babanki, in places like Meme. I mean, this Meme Kumba in particular. This is a place that was virtually dead. But in the past weeks, we have seen the resurgence of Ambazonia fighters basically confiscating, attacking the Cameroonian army, confiscating equipment, and even killing some of them. What has informed this? Is it that some of these fighters who escaped to Grand One are now back, or what is going on? Tell us what you know, because I know you are quite close to them.
Thank you once more for having me and for that difficult question. Difficult in the sense that these are, when you look at these areas that you mentioned of having, let me use the word died in quotes, I will bet to differ in the sense that they didn't, because the Ambazonian fighters are what you call organic fighters, original. And the kind of war we are fighting, we are not fighting a conventional war. That's the first thing you need to know. We are fighting a guerrilla war. And sometimes to retreat does not mean to surrender. And a lot of reasons also do advance for some of the delays in attacks, some of the delays in actions. I want to tell you that apart from the restoration fighters, don't forget that the enemy is also very strong and has some resources that they use. There are some of these fighters that are very weak. Some are easily convinced. And this is done through the elites and through the elites will consult their families, will consult their network, and they will talk to these fighters. And some of these fighters do have mentors, they do have parents, they do have colleagues that sometimes could convince them to give them room so they could perform certain things with the hope that material will come, this will happen. So there's a lot of blame game going along as well. Now, when you look at the case of Kumba, which you just mentioned, you remember it's not up to 2 weeks ago, you saw the attack that happened in Kosala, which was on I think was the 23rd or 24th of May. That is to show you that when the lion is sleeping does not mean that the lion is dead. A lot had happened in Kumba, and Kumba needed a restructure. But sometimes as a guerrilla, you don't just strike always. The case of striking always, like the places which you have mentioned very clearly, the Ngoketunga, the Ndonga Mantung, the Bui, it's a complete different scenario from what happens in other counties. Other counties, they use different strategies. We cannot use the same strategies in all the places. You even mentioned about Le BLM that started as if Le BLM no longer fight. They still fight. And they come out once in a while as guerrilla. And sometimes when they come out, you will realize that the impact is felt.
Right, no, you are correct. I was just talking about the intensity and the consistency.
Yeah. And that is not what wins the war, like we said, as guerrillas. Because as guerrillas, I could live with you in the same house even for 2 months without you knowing that you are my enemy, just waiting for the right time to strike. And when I strike so deep. But to give you, when we talked about resurgence, I think if we look at the meaning, it's like we are renewing, something died down. I don't see it. Let me give you an example from before the Pope came, places were hot everywhere in Ambazonia. We were there defending our people. What made people think that something went down was because of the ceasefire that was called for the visit of the Pope. But immediately the Pope left, you saw that our freedom fighters went back to defending themselves and the land. And remember that certain places where you do not see fighting also is if the military is not available in those areas, then there is no net striking. I will give you a lot of areas where probably, I don't know if it's tactical, if it is fear, military there goes to certain area. They do not, because they know the consequences. On the before the, I will just let's get the last video which you played was the video of the 1st of June, but I want us to take a month back. You remember on the very first of May, which was Labor Day, that was the incident that happened, I think, in Babanki, not the other one you just mentioned in Babanki, because I think it happened in Pafut, and that was close to the airport where they struck a few days ago. But the one that actually happened in Babanki, it was between the pythons of Boyo. And you remember how they harvested 2 good machines and neutralized 2 military as well. That was just on the 1st of May. It didn't take long. Few days later, which was about the 5th of May, it was the turn of Jakiri in veterinary. That is the veterinary school where the military has a military base there as well. It's like almost every village in Buina has a military base. And the same incident happened. They neutralized 2 on that 5th of May and harvested 1 machine as well. And this was done thanks to the forces of the Drpa, known as the Shinarambo barracks, which are under Unity warriors. On the 6th of May, which was a day later, it was the turn of the Air Force. And that was at a village still in Drpa, known as Sop, which is a few kilometers to Jakiri. There were 2 attacks on that day. Immediately, the Air Force of Tadu attacked, which is a force from the Kumbu West, and came right to Drpa and did that and carried out that attack. It was about 12:30 p.m. At about 2:30 p.m., another convoy left Kumbu for Jakiri. And the M23 of Drpa attacked them still on that same day, meaning that we had 2 attacks on that day. On Wednesday, the 13th, still of May, this happened, which was also reported between Noni and Kambe, where 2 military forces were neutralized and 2 machines also confiscated. You can see I'm still not yet half May gone, and you can see how many battles we have had.
But that's exactly what I'm calling a resurgence.
Yeah. Then on the, I think the 18th of May was the turn of Moyoka, where that heavy harvest, I think 17 night breaking 18th, where we had that heavy harvest. I think we had it on the show before the 20th May or something like that.
Yeah.
Where you remember that video?
Yes.
Yes. And then
that was from
on the 19th,
that was from Moyoka, right?
Yes, Moyoka in Fako.
Yeah.
Where it was really a very heavy harvest. That is to show you that if one outing, if we could get an outing like that with such a harvest and such military being neutralized, you will know the impact and the effect. This could only happen, you remember, in those days of Field Marshal. Then we had another one in Oku on the eve of the 20th May. That is from the 18th, we went to the 19th. And this was in Bokebu, in Oku, LGA, still in Bui, this time in Bui. And it was done by the Justice Warriors of Bui Unity Warriors. Now, the main day, which was the 20th May, I remember how you encouraged them to make sure that we do not let this happen in our land. I can tell you that the Bui warriors really prepared for this day. And it's been really long, if I should go by your statement, that we had more than 6 attacks on that day. It started in Kar village, which is the village of General Ivo Yenwo, the one now who has been taken as, I think, the chief of staff for President Biya from the presidential guard now. He's been promoted recently as the chief of staff. That was in his village, where his house is harboring lots of military who caused a lot of atrocities. Then we had the Jakiri grandstand, where the event usually take place. By 5 a.m., the warriors had taken control of that area, and no one could dare come out there to celebrate or perform any activity. Then we had the main headquarters in Bui, which is the colonial town called Tobin, and we had about 4 different barracks of Bui Unity warriors in action, starting from the prison, the principal prison, where receptions were to take place, and the SDO had to call for extra armor car to be ferried to the stadium and back. And then the warriors followed the B that escorted him right up to their complex, and they fought all through that evening in Melim. And in Noni, LGA, there was also another action taking place in Kor, and this time they went to the Lion's Den, which was at the Gendarmerie Brigade. I see someone coming in, Sama Thomas. And then, then we had, that was on the 20th. And then on the 23rd, 24th, which is the one in Kumba that we have already mentioned, I was just trying to take them chronologically so we can see the consistency of the action our warriors are doing to make sure that they liberate homeland. Then we had this one in Bafut, which was done by the Liberty Warriors, and the Southern Qatar, which you just played the video, and that was on the 1st of June. And the latest was the one that took place yesterday in Bui, in Sop, by the Black Vampires of Joppa in collaboration with M23. So this is the litany of the actions that we have had just for a month.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that is why I describe it a resurgence of Ambazonia fighters, considering the consistency and the frequency of the attacks that we are seeing. Let's get to Sama Thomas, who has just joined. Let me go to Mike Fusis first to chip in on this subject. Mike Fusi, what you guys are the leaders out there, that is not to exclude myself, but what should be done to sustain what we are seeing out there at this moment coming from the restoration fighters?
Yes, Comrade Chris. Before I get to the leaders, I would like to make a statement about the successes or what has helped our civil protection fighters to score the successes that we have seen consistently within the past months. I think the one thing that has been so devastating to the forces of occupation from La République de Cameroon is the unpredictability of these attacks, because they don't see them coming. It's like thunder from the skies. Before you know it, it strikes. Or like a silent tsunami. Before they know it, it is upon them and sweeps them away. You see, when you look at these attacks, and you look at these areas where these attacks have occurred. For example, something happens in Manyu, and then La République is trying to figure out what is happening there. Then before they know it, it pops up in Paco, and before they're trying to figure out what is happening there, something happens in Mezam or in Meme, and it just is like chasing a moving target. It is like chasing a moving target. It is hard to get. It is very hard to get when you're trying to chase a moving target. So these attacks have led to the successes that we have seen. And of course, when you look at these areas where these pop-up attacks are happening, and these boys have a way of hitting and retreating. Then you have Bui, of course, which has become a simmering active volcano, where any La Republic of Cameroon soldier that is sent there is working like he's working on X, because you don't know when something can happen. So it is these fighters from La Republic of Cameroon, they have every reason to be protesting now, and it's long overdue. They should have done so long ago. But I'm just saying this to explain to those from La Republic of Cameroon, if at all they are listening, and especially to those who are being sent to come and die for a senseless war. Comrade, there was a presentation that was given by, I think, John Kerry, former presidential candidate and former senator for the United States. He gave this presentation during the war in Vietnam. And the question he asked was, who is going to be that last soldier that will be sent to go and die for a senseless war? Who is that soldier that is going to be, why must you be willing to die for a senseless war? And that is the question that La Republic of Cameroon and these soldiers that are falling every day should be asking. Who will be the last one to die for a senseless war? Now, coming to, and of course, when you look at all this, it comes back again to the problem of leadership. Because when we talk about there being negotiations, who is going to make the call in La Republic of Cameroon for there to be a cessation of hostilities or for there to be negotiations? Who in that country right now has the capacity to say, okay, I'm ending this war? Because there's a vacuum of leadership, there's nobody who is really in charge to make that call. Paul Biya cannot do it. His very own survival depends on those around him. I hear his wife is just treating him now like one of his kids. That he is at her mercy. She does whatever she wants with him. So who is going to make that call if she doesn't want the war to end because they are profiting from it? Is it Ngongo? Is it a town? Who can make that call? The parliament is a rubber stamp parliament. They have no powers. They can't make any call. So you see, they themselves may even want this war to end, but they don't know how to go about it now. It's like a yoke around their neck. They don't know how to get it, to take it off, and it's a burden wearing it at the same time. Now, Comrade Chris, you asked me about the leadership of our liberation movement. Of course, if there was ever a time for us to realize the advantages that we have to get at this point in time, this is the time for us to regroup, put our differences aside, and finish this job. It is very much doable right now. It is very much, this is one of the best moments for Ambazonians to capitalize on the quagmire going on in La Republic of Cameroon to finish this job. They have a leadership vacuum. They have no money. The morale among their soldiers is low. Nothing is working. They have a succession crisis. They don't know. Up to now, we don't know who the vice president is. Despite, I think they just passed a law that they're supposed to appoint a prime minister. Up to a vice president, I mean. Up to now, we don't have the vice president. There's a leadership crisis of everything that we are talking about. The leadership crisis in La Republic of Cameroon, where they are suspecting each other, and there's a probability of an internal fight once Paul Biya is no more, because they are in factions themselves, suspecting each other. So again, Comrade Chris, if there's anybody who has ever been a leader in this struggle, or who is a leader in this struggle, this is the moment to put aside your own personal ambitions, put aside your own personal ego and do whatever is best for Ambazonia. And that is to come together. So we put our people behind us, rally the support that is needed to support these, our brave civil protection volunteers who are doing a marvelous job, even with very limited resources. Imagine if we can come together and give them what they need. This thing could come to an abrupt end so soon. So I hope that we are listening. I hope we do the right thing, putting country first. Putting country first. That is why SCAF was born. SCAF was born to make sure that it gives a platform, given that the existing movements were in suspicion of each other, and none of them trust the other. And we're giving a neutral platform where leaders can come and sit and discuss and strategize and provide the vision that this liberation quest demands at this time. And talking about that, Comrade Chris, there is the leadership council within SCAO that has been established, and some leaders are already sitting in there. Some are still being added, and I'm calling on others to join. Sit in there as leaders, debate amongst yourselves, give this movement the vision and the physical representation. Because, you know that most of the times when we talk to diplomats out there, they say, you are so much, you are in faction, we don't even know who to talk to. We need to take away that argument. We need to take away that argument from those who keep saying you are in factions, we don't know who to talk to. Let's take away that argument and give people a point of reference, where an address, where they can consult on the leadership of this struggle on things that matter for our liberation. Again, I don't know how to emphasize this, but if you really have the willingness to see Ambazonia free, this is the time to put your own self-interest aside. Be patriotic. When you are patriotic, you do what is good for your country, not what is good for you. And that is what we are asking at this time.
All right.
Just do what is good for the country. Give these boys the support and the backing and the visual representation that they need to finish this job on the ground.
Absolutely. I think why SCAF is trying to do this, the urgent thing now is for every Southern Cameroonian, be it on ground zero or in the diaspora, to see the urgency in supporting these boys on the ground. And they're not only resurging, I'm seeing them even implementing discipline on the ground. They are picking the so-called Amber boys, who happen to be either opportunistic boys going around kidnapping, harassing, taking ransom from people and exposing them. They are now doing that. I think I've seen images out there where the legitimate restoration fighters are exposing these rogues who are out there trying to be opportunistic. But I think if every Ambazonian, Southern Cameroonian, be it out in the diaspora or at home, appreciates what these guys are doing on the ground, this is the moment you figure out where to put your money. Your money has to go to where your mouth is. That is the only way we can drag La République du Cameroon to the negotiating table. Their hands are full already. They have a transition in their hands. They have appointments to be made. They have so many things. They have an election that is still being contested. Southern Cameroonians, let us stand up, because La République has proven that they are not prepared to renege unless we go the extra mile. Unless we go the extra mile and demonstrate resilience and persistence. That's all that is needed. But again, these boys on the ground, they need you. They need your finances. Don't sit out there and be an analyst on the social media and think that you are doing anybody good. This is the moment where we prove to those guys on the ground you truly stand behind them. If you know them, call them, support them materially, financially, morally. Do it so that they are upbeat and continue to do what they are doing against La République du Cameroon. Cameroon must bow. No excuse to that. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the diaspora and we know we are being attacked, but listen, I would prefer to be in jail than to be handcuffed and not have Ambazonia. So we must do that. We must support these boys on the ground to do what they are doing, to continue to do what they are doing. Let me bring in Sama Thomas in here. Unfortunately, your camera was a problem and we're not getting you initially. We have been talking here about this letter from a Cameroonian soldier asking Paul Biya, their leader, to stop the war, that it is killing them and killing their families. Do you think Cameroon is going to listen to them? Or to this soldier? I don't think he is writing in isolation. He must have some other soldiers who think the same way, even their leaders.
Thank you, Comrade Chris. I don't know if you can hear me.
5 on 5.
Okay, let me say hi to Comrade Mike and my brother in ground one. The question you are asking me as concerned the letter written by a certain soldier in La République Cameroon, I think that the soldier is not a soldier enough. Let me remind him that before Samuel Doe became the president of Liberia, he was a junior military official that was sent by generals to go and topple William Tobin. But when Samuel Doe did that, he turned back his gun to kill his own leaders with and became the president of Liberia. What am I saying here? That soldier who has written that letter ought to have convinced his brothers in uniform. For he is not even the son of Mr. Paul Biya, but the grandson of Mr. Paul Biya, fighting and dying for Mr. Paul Biya. Instead of using that weapon that the octogenarian has given them to go and kill innocent people and losing their lives because of someone that doesn't even know he's still alive. I cannot really understand that type of a mentality. So they should use that weapon and turn to face even their leaders in the military when they must have finished with all those guys in the military, like René Zameka, who doesn't even know he's even still alive, still like Mr. Paul Biya. Then they can face Mr. Paul Biya's family. To begin with, Paul Biya is not the one handling La République affairs for the past 10 years. The person that has been ruling La République for the past 10 years has been Chantal Biya and not Paul Biya. So when you take out a person like Chantal and that cabal that sits around there claiming to be the leaders of La République Cameroon, then you've solved the problem. Writing those letters, you will write quantums of those letters. It will never change a pin on the ground until when action is taken by them. When John Garang was sent with a battalion of soldiers to go to South Sudan, they sent him there to do what? To go and kill his own brothers. But when he went to the south, he used those same ammunitions that the system of Sudan has put in his hands to go and fight his brothers, to fight against that system. Why are those guys carrying those guns in their hands and weapons given to go and kill innocent people? Instead of using it like Garang did to kill, to face back the system that sent them, they are using it to kill ignorant people with and are writing useless letters around the place complaining about Mr. Paul Biya call for a meaningful dialogue with the people of the Southern Cameroons. We are not interested in such a mindset, for they are not courageous enough to stand up for themselves. So that letter is as useless as the writer of that letter himself. To go back with what we've been struggling with here or debating over, if our people have laid down their arms long ago, If Mr. Paul Biya and his band of idiots are thinking that this war will end by their thought that our people will one day lay down their arms, we can stop fighting even for the next 1 year. But one day, the fight will be reignited. The fight, the struggle for the liberation of the Southern Cameroons will never end without the liberation of Southern Cameroons. Even if it's going to take us 30 years, like it does with the people, or it did with the people of South Sudan, we are ready for it. Mr. Paul Biya and his friends thought that after 1 year or 6 months, as they said, that when the lawyers will be hungry, after 6 months, they will go back to work. When we'll be tired of removing our money, we'll put on the ground for the struggle where the war will end. Some people might be tired, but everybody will never be tired at the same time. So the struggle, even if left in the hands of one courageous person, it will continue till the day that we will reach Buea. So Paul Biya and his friends must not be dreaming. They should do the right thing now. Oh, their people will keep on crying as we are crying until the right thing will be done.
Give us your take on what we are describing as the resurgence of Ambazonia fighters, Sama.
When we are talking about resurgence, Comrade Chris, it's just as if we are saying that the war has once stopped for about 1 year or so. That is not the case here. For the war has been ongoing. The only thing that we've witnessed in the struggle is that places like Kumba, Buea, and Manfe have been somehow calm for the past 1 year or so, but not complete 1 year. For at given moment, the soldiers will appear and cause havoc on the public soldiers and disappear, which that is a real guerrilla tactic. The only place that has been consistent all along has been Bui and partially Meza, but it has never been complete calmness in the entire Southern Cameroons for the past 1 year. So we cannot be talking about resurgence here as if the war ever stopped completely.
All right, gentlemen, please stay put. I will be right back, and when I come back, we focus on who is really in charge. Who is really in charge in the La République du Cameroon? Talking about the report of Paul Biya fainting on the 20th May, fainting on 20th May, and reports of him getting incapacitated. Let's delve into that once I come back here. Stay put, please.
Have you noticed? The world is changing faster than ever before.
Artificial intelligence is transforming workplaces, creating new opportunities, and reshaping entire industries.
The question is no longer whether AI will impact your career. The question is, will you be ready? At Certified AI Academy, we're helping ordinary people gain extraordinary skills in just 8 weeks.
Unlike many programs that leave you alone with recorded videos, our classes are taught live by experienced instructors.
You will learn practical AI skills you can immediately apply at work, in business, or to launch a new career.
And we don't stop at training. We help with resume development, job search support, and connecting graduates with opportunities.
Many AI jobs today can be performed remotely from anywhere in the world.
Our next session begins July 24th. Seating is limited.
To enroll, text AI to 346-271-0711 or visit certifiedaiacademy.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, again at this moment I will take you back to Yaoundé, where we have a conversation on the collapse of Paul Biya. We are told on the May 20th. After the May 20th festivities, we were told that Mr. Biya collapsed. So who is taking the decisions in Yaoundé? That is the question. For months now, Cameroonians have been asking questions that the regime has refused to answer. Questions that continue to grow louder with every passing day. Questions about the health of President Paul Biya. Questions about the future of the state. And questions about Ambazonia. Questions about succession and questions about power. And now, if reports circulating from sources close to the presidency in Yaoundé are to be believed, those questions have become impossible to ignore. According to reports attributed to eyewitnesses and presidential sources, Paul Biya allegedly suffered a health scare during the May 20th National Unity Day celebrations at the Unity Palace. The report claimed that the 93-year-old president collapsed during a reception following the military parade and was quickly attended to by doctors before being moved to the palace medical unit. No official statement has been issued from the state. No explanation has been offered. Silence, once again, has become the preferred language of the state. But even if one sets aside the allegations altogether, the bigger issue remains. Who is really running Cameroon? Who is running the state? Because whether or not this latest report is true, one fact is beyond dispute. Cameroon has been operating for months under a cloud of uncertainty. Remember the promises? Citizens were told constitutional reforms would modernize the state. That was after the October elections. They were told that a vice president would be appointed. They were told that a new political architecture was being prepared. They were told that a new cabinet would emerge and change everything. Yet 8 months later, none of it has happened. Why? What explains the paralysis? What explains the delay? What explains the inability of a state apparatus that once moved with precision to now appear frozen in place? There are only two possibilities. Either there is a fierce internal struggle over succession, or the man at the center of the system is no longer capable of exercising authority in the manner required by the office he occupies. And perhaps it is both. For more than 4 decades, Paul Biya has not merely been the president of Cameroon. He has been the system itself. The presidency is not simply an institution. It revolves around one individual. Decisions wait for him. Appointments wait for him. Promotions wait for him. The entire machinery of the state has been conditioned to await instructions from him. But what happens when that source becomes unavailable? What happens when decisions cannot be made? What happens when signatures do not come easily? What happens when the state becomes trapped in a waiting room? The regime spent months promoting constitutional changes and discussing succession mechanisms. Yet, the very office that was supposed to guarantee continuity remains vacant 8 months after an election. Every day that the office remains vacant is another day that competing interests continue maneuvering behind closed doors. Every week that passes without clarity deepens speculation. Every month that passes without appointments increases public suspicion. that the state itself does not know where it is heading. And that is a talking point, ladies and gentlemen. Who is in charge in La République du Cameroon? Is it Paul Biya? Is it Ngongo? Is it Chantal Biya? Is it Louis Motaze? Is it the prime? Who is in charge? Where is Paul Biya? Now, do not tell me this has nothing to do with me, for as long as Ambazonia remains at war with La République du Cameroon, whatever goes on in that damn country affects me, affects my family, affects my people, and so it's just the right thing to do. But let me get to my panel again. Sama Thomas, let me start with you again here. Paul Biya collapsed on the 20th May, and since then the question has been, what is going on with him? And since 20th May, I believe also, we've had the president of the Senate gone. We've had that of the National Assembly gone. It seems like, the die is moving very closer to Biya, and we have not heard from him nor seen him since then, and no news, no statement coming from the presidency about his health or situation. What are you hearing out there, sir?
Before I go, I still begin to communicate. It seems a blogger was arrested in La République from Douala for saying that it seems that it's getting closer home.
Okay.
So
to the target.
Okay.
Absolutely. Okay, now let me go back to who is La République's. If Paul Biya has just collapsed this past 20th May, I don't think that is the right thing to say. Paul Biya has collapsed long time ago. And even if Paul Biya happens to die today, let me be serious now. Even if Paul Biya happens to die today, those around him, even Chantal Biya, will not announce the death of Paul Biya. The people that will announce the death of Paul Biya will be France. And it is France that is keeping Paul Biya where he is. It is France that is controlling the whole system around Paul Biya, telling who what to do. That is why for the past 10 years, even Atanganji cannot touch even an SGO. If Atanganji would want to step into that area of touching a GO, not an SGO, it is only when that guy has...
Listen, comrade, Atanganji, as far as I'm concerned, Atanganji simply plays the role of the hangman for the regime.
Yeah, he's a hangman that they call the Minister of the Administration, that is supposed to be responsible with the appointment of governors, GOs, and SGOs. But Atanganji cannot even appoint a GO to begin with, because all those things revolve around Mr. Paul Biya, and now that Mr. Paul Biya is unable to do anything, about 2 or 4 years ago, the French appointed a military general as their ambassador to Yaoundé. It is that guy in Yaoundé that controls the presidency of La République du Cameroon, and not Paul Biya. So any decision that they are taking in that presidency is coming from the French embassy. And once that is done with, that is when Paul Biya will be announced dead, or Paul Biya will be removed by his own people, or Paul Biya will be removed by that same soldier who wrote that letter calling for Paul Biya to do something, as if Paul Biya is the one controlling La République. He is not the one, it's the French embassy. The Nigerian people, the Malians and Burkina Faso people, they took the right decision to say that the presidency, which is theirs, is not their problem, but their main problem is the French embassy. And what they did was that they get rid of that French embassy before they turn around to say, what can we do with our presidency? We need to fix our presidency. If the people of La République will be unable to remove the French embassy in Yaoundé, they will be where they are till thy kingdom come. For tomorrow, Paul Biya will be dead in reality, but they will bury him, not even keep him in the mortuary. They will bury him, but still keep on telling them that Paul Biya is the president of La République, who will never be elected by them, but he will be there even in the grave, unless they will stand up and do something for themselves. If not, they are in, even for the next 100 years.
If Paul Biya is gone without appointing a vice president, do you think that there is any chance anybody emerges president other than Ngongo?
Well, Ngongo might emerge president if France chooses to appoint him to be president. But if France will not appoint Ngongo as a president, nobody will take the presidency of La République du Cameroon without the involvement of France. So Ngongo is just a figurehead in that system. The ambassador of France is the president of La République du Cameroon. That is why that accord is there, that if there is a problem in La République's presidency and then the president can no longer control, the French will set in. And it is now the French that are set in and is taking decisions on behalf of anybody of La République du Cameroon and not Ngongo.
Sheikh Kavi, sir. Oh, Sheikh, go on, sorry.
Before I come back to that, I also want to say that the analysis of Sama Thomas on resurgence was the part which I took, which had to do with a situation where you describe a situation that had died or was forgotten and is reawakened. So that is just a point of explaining why my analysis took that side, which he also took it on that way. And then to come back to the topic of today, the topic we have at hand now, I think, first of all, our culture has a lot of respect for the elders. And it's a very normal thing for somebody at his age to collapse also, based on the fact that he is frail, he's weak, he is incapacitated, as we keep saying. But before that incident, you will notice that what you just cited about the Senate president who went near Ndifenyi, then you had the Speaker of National Assembly, Kabaye, and then you had a host of others. I think there were signals also that a lot of people suddenly became ill at the Biya's regime. You remember there is also a Clement Atanga, the
Chief Judge or Justice or
the Constitutional Council Chair, who is, we are told, is hospitalized. Then we had a general who died, and then we had Remy, the Chief of Staff too, who was almost rumored kicked the bucket, but he is still also at the hospital. And when those series of incidents occurred, we are told that Chantal Biya wanted to take Biya away to check up Switzerland before the 20th May.
Right.
So we are told that the plane was prepared for him and it stood at the airport. I think the plane that usually carries him around. He was grounded for about almost a week, I am told, and that I don't know how true this is, that Biya was the one that resisted staying back at home, but he had that opportunity where Chantal wanted them to go for a vacation and take some holiday, but he didn't go. So it was most likely that if he was so unwell, and after standing also for close to 45 minutes during the military parade, I think it took about 45 minutes, or was it the general parade at the 20th May Boulevard. I think it was also normal that he could get tired knowing about his age. And during the reception in the evening, he felt some uneasiness, and we are told he had this malaise, and people wanted to react, but it was handled in the usual way, where the CRTV will have to take its camera off, and then Chantal will come back later to tell people to continue partying like nothing is happening in order to conceal information. But you will see that Biya, for so many years, like Mr. Sama Thomas said, has not been ruling Cameroon for years. He's citing France, and you remember that Biya also gave his signature to Ngongo. He was not the first time, but this should be the longest person who had Biya's signature, and he could do a lot of things with his clique. But as time went on, he started having conflicts with these people, as Mike Fossey said, that they are fragmented also, their factions in CPDM or in the regime. You will give you an example. Remember, he was talking about a Tanganji not being able to appoint a deal. We are even talking about a Tanganji. Normally, who is a prime minister is the one that is appointed, and then he appoints his government, right? But that's usually the case. So I don't even think that the prime minister can even appoint also a deal or a mayor anywhere, even though mayors are elected. And that's why when somebody used that statement, recall when you were talking about death coming closer to Biya, and we remember this guy in Douala that had to go appear in court for saying that oh God, you are closer to the target. So he had to go. I think he used the word target, and he had to go to court to explain who this target was. It was really funny. I don't know how it ended, but I followed the case at that time. And so there are also other people. We keep talking about Ngongo, we keep talking about Chantal Biya. But there is also another person who is the director of the civil cabinet, Samuel Mbondo Ayolo.
Yeah.
We have also seen him playing a lot of roles. He played very high roles. You remember there was these things that I say, sometimes I want to call them rumor because I don't have facts. We heard the case where Biya was, where John Gute was sitting in the plane and was asked to go back, or he was coming and was sent back. We hear there was a conflict between him and Ngongo. Then we had the second incident, which had to do with the launching of the Fekafoot Palace. Yeah. The headquarters, we are told that the civil cabinet was the one who appointed the prime minister to represent the head of state. But then there were also contradictory messages that Biya himself, which probably might be Ngongo, wanted but the minister of sports to be the representative of the head of state. So you will see that conflict, and you begin to wonder, not only one person is ruling, there is confusion, and this confusion is what is making it so difficult for them to have the the vice president. Recently, we have learned of a certain pastor, Oswald, I think they call him Baboke. Have you heard of that?
No.
Okay, this is the new candidate for the position of the vice president. And we are told that since Shanghai, he's a pastor, and he is a billionaire as well.
Francophone, I guess.
Yes.
Oswald, it should be from
a pastor of which ministry?
That I didn't research. I will try to do that and get back to you. But his name is Baboke Oswald. Oswald spelled with an E to show that it's a French one, the French extraction. And it looks like he is the new choice for Chantal Biya to be for the position of the vice president. Since the other one, I think the name is Gilbert, who was fighting also for that position, claiming to be Biya's child. The position is that Chantal wanted to use that one in order to despise Frank Biya. So Chantal is doing everything humanly possible to make sure that Frank Biya does not hold that position. And the confusion that they have is that these two people, they are very key in the sense that Biya is the wife and is constantly with the husband. And Frank is the son who should also have access to the father. But sometimes it's very contradictory and complicated for Biya to have full control.
Access to Frank. I have learned that.
Yeah. These two people have communication. For example, if Biya has a communication with the son, when Chantal comes in, he makes sure that he did everything, and vice versa. Now, recently, we also saw that Comrade Chris, you seem to be a very, while having Issa Chiroma as your friend, your other friend, Colonel Bankui Emil.
Yeah.
Did you learn of that? He's being
what
asked to come back. Yeah, he's being asked to come back from retirement again with with Colonel Jean-Jacques Fouda. These two, they are asked to come and take charge of the electronic surveillance. And this is to tell you that. Yeah, that's why I want to tell you that when you climb the plum tree, don't forget to send me the black one, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
I have so many friends there.
I think, and that is why you have also another circle of the Issa Chiroma that is already asking people. I've forgotten the name again. It just went slip off my mind. That is trying also to discourage offices from using the Biya's pictures into offices. Effigies in offices, and this is we are told, is being also promoted by some people in the regime because they are already seeing that the time of the regime is very, very short starting from now, and all of them are trying to find their way in case Issa Chiroma is given the chance if something happens, because definitely, like you asked a question, what happens if Biya dies now and he has not appointed the vice president, which was the purpose? Are they going to follow the new constitution now, or they will go back to the old one, which the Senate president has to take over? This is the debate that is going on. But the good thing that you see, which I say that at the moment, it will be difficult to say who is actually ruling Cameroon, because if you see some of these actions that are taking place, nobody is able to carry out arrests. Recently, you would know the outings of Maurice Kamto. Maurice Kamto has been asking for that he wants the Constitutional Council to annul the legitimacy of the mayors, that their mandate expired 3 days ago, which was the 31st, according to the Constitution, and that at the moment, Cameroon no longer has mayors, despite the fact that it was postponed to, I think, February 2027.
2027,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, but you see, Kamto is coming up forcefully now and fighting against it. You know, in those days where if Kamto could dare open his mouth and say things like this, the military will come for him. You can see so many other things happening now, and people are talking now freely. That is to show you that at the moment there seems to be no control because they are very fragmented. That's what I wanted to share. In terms of leadership at the moment, I am really confused, but I know that two people at the moment are of the position of the vice president. Those that we speculated before, the Atanganji, the Philemon Yang, the prime minister himself, they no longer talk about them. The two people who are in the minds of the regime at the moment are this Pastor Oswald Baboke and Frank Biya at the moment.
I have not heard of that, Pastor. I hope I will get to find out who he is. But gentlemen, please stay put in there. Let's open the phones for about 5 minutes before we call it a night today. So stay put, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a very brief break out, and when we come back, I will open the phone lines for you to call and contribute to the show. Stay put.
Have you noticed? The world is changing faster than ever before.
Artificial intelligence is transforming workplaces, creating new opportunities, and reshaping entire industries.
The question is no longer whether AI will impact your career. The question is, will you be ready? At Certified AI Academy, we're helping ordinary people gain extraordinary skills in just 8 weeks.
Unlike many programs that leave you alone with recorded videos, our classes are taught live by experienced instructors.
You will learn practical AI skills you can immediately apply at work, in business, or to launch a new career.
And we don't stop at training. We help with resume development, job search support, and connecting graduates with opportunities.
Many AI jobs today can be performed remotely from anywhere in the world.
Our next session begins July 24th. Seating is limited.
To enroll, text AI to 346-271-0711 or visit certifiedaiacademy.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for staying put out there. At this moment, I will open the phone line, have you call in to contribute to the broadcast. The number is right there on your screen, but remember, before you call, make sure you turn down the volume of your set. If you are watching on television, on computer, make sure you turn down the volume of your set before you call. So go ahead, the number is right there on your screen. All right, and while I wait for your phone calls, let me get back to my panel. Sama, Thomas, I know you were about to concur to the points that Shea Servism was making. Go on, please.
Yes, like Shea was talking about our succession in Lara Public's system. There's a lot of speculations going on in La Republic about who Mr. Paul Biya will appoint like his vice president. I think that is what is going on within me. There is a lot of backlash even in La Republic of Cameroon about who the vice president is. That is why Paul Biya has chosen to suspend the appointment of a vice president like he did with the so-called 1996, if at all he was the one who chose to suspend it, like he did with the 1996 constitution that calls for what they call it, the special status and decentralization. It is only when Paul Biya thinks I will, or when France sees an opportunity on something in the constitution that will favor their policy in La Republic of Cameroon, that will say, no, let us go back to this thing, but they must have taken time to fix some certain aspect of that thing before bringing it into play. So what is happening in La Republic of Cameroon and Paul Biya now, or France, is they are contemplating who are we going to elect or to be appointed as the vice president in La Republic of Cameroon, with all this backlash that is coming even from within La Republic of Cameroon's citizens. For their citizens are saying that if the vice president, putting everything equal, if the president is coming from La Republic of Cameroon, the vice must be coming from the Southern Cameroons. That is what is now holding the appointment of the vice president in La Republic. So France is now playing his game, like they did in 1996, to give peace a chance when everything must have settled, that nobody is talking about succession and vice president, when they must have changed some certain things in that so-called constitution that will give them the opportunity, of which they have all the opportunity to do whatever they want to do, to say you can be the vice, but will not succeed your predecessor if something happens. That day will come, that decision will be taken and fitted into that clause of the constitution, and from that moment they will now appoint a vice president, even if that vice president is John Ute, is Philomena Young, or whosoever. They will appoint him knowing that he will not succeed Mr. Paul Biya or whosoever if that person dies. Not as if they cannot appoint anybody now. It is the backlash within their own circles that is holding them not to appoint a vice president at the moment.
Shay, make your last point. Let's call it a night, please.
Last point.
Yes, and let's call it a night in the absence of any cause.
I still think that there is danger. What La Republique has used is this issue of buying time, which is in line with what Mr. Sama Thomas is saying. But I'm afraid that this time they may not be lucky to buy that much time that they want, because the odds are very high, the stakes are high. And they have come to a conclusion where if France actually, according to Sama's analysis, is the one in charge, do not also forget that France has never wanted an Anglophone to become a president in La République. So that is why you no longer even hear names of Anglophones coming up. And Barrister Agbobala was able to also note this aspect, and that is why his last outing was there, that we should not stop. When I say we, I mean they, the Anglophones, don't include me anyway. I'm not. We should not stop drumming the issue of or losing hope in the fact that an Anglophone can become a vice president. But following the new law that was passed, it is very likely that they are going to follow the Nigerian method, which is what was agreed in 1961, that if the president dies, the vice president takes over and completes the term. And that means that we still have about 6 years, some months, if it were to happen today. But what we are trying to see here is the fact that I agree with the fact that there is a lot of disagreement among them, which is the reason. Because it looks like everybody wants to be vice president at this moment, but they still want somebody that can continue with Biya's legacy. And what is delaying this is the fact that all of them are criminals and prison awaits them. This is what they want to avoid. This is what I know. Because if you see, rumor also has it that this man of the justice, what is his name, Laurent Esco, has been at loggerheads for long with Ferdinand Gongo. And these two people are also very two powerful people that if they do not agree, it is very difficult for a consensus to be made. So these are some of the reasons that I think are delaying the vice president's position. But of course, we can never deny the French influence. Once France cannot get what they want, it will be difficult. And that is why I keep saying that we are in this mess, in this war. We have not been to the negotiating table because France has been using first its position as a veto power at the UN. They have been convincing other countries. Imagine what just happened recently, that Cameroon of all people was still maintained by United States of America as one of the visa processing countries.
Yeah, I don't consider that as anything because America is looking at convenience. Remember, Cameroon within the sub-Central African region is like the operating house for every diplomatic mission. So,
why did they choose Equatorial Guinea? Don't forget, Equatorial Guinea is also...
Equatorial Guinea has a problem of infrastructure that Yaoundé has that they don't. You remember, Equatorial Guinea is a very small country.
I will disagree with you. If it comes to infrastructure, Cameroon now is, I think, one of the worst countries in Africa in terms of infrastructure.
Consider it this way.
If you look at what...
Consider it this way. What the diplomatic missions have built in Yaoundé over the years. That's infrastructure we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm coming to that, Secretary Chris, Comrade Chris. Where my argument is going through is the fact that a country that is known for human rights abuses, taking America as the police of the world, should have used this situation at this moment to sanction Cameroon in this situation. Imagine, I will look at the case of Abuja being left out for Lagos. That already makes sense. But keeping Yaoundé and Cameroon among the 20 countries, 19 countries, it's just that they have 20 centers, but 19 countries that were chosen, for me, I see still as what you call hypocrisy of the West.
All right. Thank you. Comrades, unfortunately, we are out of time, and let's do this some other time. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Are you sending us the stream?
The what?
Coming from Coming from your friends in
The bonus for staying this late.
Oh, okay. I will try. I will try. You guys just keep praying out there. All right. Good night. Okay, ladies and
thank you for having us there.
Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the time is fast spent. We are going to end here for tonight. We lost Mike Fusi earlier on, but thanks for Sama Thomas and Share Servicism for joining the show. I hope you enjoyed it tonight. I will be back here on Friday with another powerful panel and issues to discuss. Thanks for tuning in once more and good night.
Have you noticed? The world is changing faster than ever before.
Artificial intelligence is transforming workplaces, creating new opportunities, and reshaping entire industries.
The question is no longer whether AI will impact your career. The question is, will you be ready? At Certified AI Academy, we're helping ordinary people gain extraordinary skills in just 8 weeks.
Unlike many programs that leave you alone with recorded videos, our classes are taught live by experienced instructors.
You will learn practical AI skills you can immediately apply at work, in business, or to launch a new career.
And we don't stop at training. We help with resume development, job search support, and connecting graduates with opportunities.
Many AI jobs today can be performed remotely from anywhere in the world.
Our next session begins July 24th. Seating is limited.
To enroll, text AI to 346-271-0711 or visit certifiedaiacademy.com.